Hello and welcome to Dubai Trains, and in this video we're going to take this little HH660 and we're going to replace the ESU decoder with a Soundtraxx encoder. And I'm going to explain a little bit why I'm doing that, why I'm replacing the decoder, and then I'm going to showcase a bit really quick and to the point the different steps to replace the decoder. And then lastly, I'm going to end off by explaining why I'm replacing the ESU with the Soundtraxx and why that's my choice. And that's probably going to turn into a little bit of a rant. So that's why I'm doing it at the end of the video. So here is the engine, and I already took the screws out. And this is quite an old Atlas Gold engine. We have the motor, we have two flywheels, we have a little gearbox, then going into the truck. Speakers right there. Light, let's call it a type of like motherboard there that everything plugs into. So we have all these different little plugs, and one is for the power from the different wheels, the other one is for the motor, then we have for the lights. There's also a rear light here, and that was also connected with a little plug. Let me see if I can save that later down the line. And then we have the 21-pin standard connector right there, and some kind of 8-pin thing here. I think that's if you want to plug in just a normal DC decoder. I'm not sure. Never actually used that. And that's what we're looking at. So why are we changing the decoder? Everything is fine. There's sound in here and everything. Well, like I said, this is an old engine, and this ESU decoder just died. It is not doing anything anymore, and I reset it and everything, but it's just end of life, basically. So the easiest thing I can do right now is just to get another decoder and just plug it in here. Well, not really, because since this little engine was made, standards have also progressed. And on my layout, I put in these Currentkeepers in all my engines. So let's see how to do that, because if I get this 21-pin connector, I can install and solder the wires of the Currentkeeper. Let's see, it's all very tiny stuff. Directly onto the decoder, but I don't want to do that because it's very difficult. It's so small, and that's just not within the skill set that I have for soldering. And you gotta be quite a damn good solderer, if that's the right word for it, to be able to do that. So if you're not confident in soldering, just hedge your bets and don't do that. So I'm thinking also this board takes up so much space. What if I just take this board out and then look at all that free space we have to put that capacitor somewhere, probably somewhere here, just a little bit over the speaker, a little bit over the motor. And then if we put that, and then we take a smaller decoder, like this N18, let's fit that somewhere here, then that will work just magically. Now I've used this decoder before, and I used it on a very small steam engine project, and it's just absolutely great. They're so small, and since then, Soundtraxx has made them even smaller. So I think even narrower. So they fit in the N-scale engines. Now this is a 1 amp board, so that is plenty some for this little engine, and that's all I need to know. If it's 1 amp and it works, then there we go. Now, this is too small for me to solder any wires onto, so they came out with these little connector board thingy-majingies. In my last project, they didn't have these guys, so I'm really happy that they have them now. And in true Soundtraxx fashion, it's just they give that's one of the reasons, but I'll save that for the rant. They just give the information that you need. How to install this guy, what do all these wires do. You're saying what wires? There's a wire harness here, and that plugs in to that thing, or just like that, I think. So what do all these wires do? Where do these colors go? And then on the back, you already saw it, there's some soldering pads, and we're going to use that for the speaker. And then there it says as well for the Currentkeeper. You can use it for the functions, but as you saw, I don't have any function lights on this engine. And so you're saying now, so yeah, I still have to solder. Yes, I still have to solder, but these soldering pads are infinitely bigger than the ones that you will otherwise use on the decoder. So you see now I'm just taking everything apart and labeling a few of the wires, especially the plus and the minus of the LEDs is important to get right. But the rest is not really rocket science, to be honest. And later on, if you do solder the wrong or right plus and minus of the motor to the board, that's fine. You can, in the software, just change it so it goes forward when it goes forward and reverse when it goes reverse. You see we got the motherboard off, and I just made a list of some of the things. So the headlights, I wanted to know which one is plus, which one's minus. So we do need to still solder a resistor onto that. The power, it doesn't really matter that much in the motor, but I just wanted to write it down. Let's see if we can do a first time right thing. And here we are with a board, and like I said, I wanted to take some of these one connector off so we can reuse it for the headlight. Warm it up, connector's loose, get a screwdriver, push it off, just like that. So here is the engine with all this Frankenstein wires off of it. Don't worry, I didn't label any of the wires at the end of the day, because you can just really see simply where they're coming from. So for all the new people here, this is obviously going to the truck. This one is also obviously going to the truck here, so there's the power pickups. Upside down, but these two are obviously going to the motor, so there. We got two coming here out of this little black box, which is the speaker, so that's quite obvious. So it's all quite obvious. Don't need to overdo it. So what I did is, let's call this step one, is to prepare for the install before you solder anything. So I have this old board, and I made a piece of polystyrene as a dummy board, and I just cut off these little lips that were here that were holding that other board. And I'm going to glue this later on here. So I know everything, all these wires won't get entangled, and there's not going to be short circuit with I don't know, something that's left open and the motor. And we should never leave any connection open, but if something goes wrong, at least not going to be a short circuit. So that's that. Now I did cut, as you see from the wires from the motor, a little groove in the board here, so those wires can come up. The original board had the same, so I thought let me just follow that lead. And that's the plateau, and I think I'm just going to glue down the things that I can glue down right now. So let me just space it out a little bit. This guy was going to be right there. This guy can be somewhere. See how much space we have here now? Top of the speaker. I'm going to push it as far as I can. But I am limited because there is, I mean, not really limited, but I just don't want to cover up that wire that's coming out right there. So I'm going to do that right now. So like that, and then this guy will go just right there. Great. Lovely jubbly, as they would say. Some parts of the world. Now this plug we have right here. This is for the light, and you see the headlight does need to match up with the other end of the plug. And that is actually on this side of the engine, as you see. So that's great. Because if you plug it all the way over here, or make it all the way here, then it's not going to work. So you have to put it somewhere here. I think I'm just going to already glue it down. It's going to glue it down right there. So here we go. So what are you looking at right now? This is the underneath side of that board. And we got to solder these 1, 2, 3, 4 wires onto it. And everything is already pre-tin. So that's what you see. There's a little bubble of tin on it, just on the pad only. And if everything goes well, all I need to do is just, I got the wire in place, heat it up a little bit. Yep, let it go. Yeah, make sure there's no short circuit. No, there's not. And that is number one. And that's just how we're going to do all of them. So I soldered the black and the red and this black and blue to the bottom of this plate. And then I glued it down, if you can see it here, with a tiny, tiny dot just right there of glue gun. So if I have to, I can just cut it away, but for now it's in place. So we'll make this install a little bit easier. Now the next step, I want to do the lights first. So like I said, we need to add these resistors. I'm just going from the big components all the way to the small components. So we got the big component, it's this white plate, the capacitor, and this unit. And then the next relatively big component is this is that resistor together with the plug that we talked about for the lighting. So I want to do that first and get the other resistor in place for this light as well, because there is not one on here. And then after that, it's just a matter of wiring all these guys up, and that's all quite straightforward. I mean, there's a lot of, that's why I really what I like the Soundtraxx. There's a lot of great documentation. I mean, I don't have the documentation for this small board, but because they're so consistent, I can just take this Blunami documentation. And don't forget, we also have the documentation that came with this adapter itself. So also here it just says where everything goes. So that's quite straightforward. But I just wanted to check for the resistors exactly where they go. So that's why I got this guy out. And that is that. Look at that. Still need to do some proper wire management. But as far as I'm concerned right now, it's ready for the test bench. And you see, I want to use some super glue to glue all these wires in place. But for now, you see everything is in there. Everything, yeah, fits basically. So if we just, in a nutshell, go through it, and you see there's like a cable highway right here, just filling this little void that the Currentkeeper is leaving. And I turn it around. I put some of the main power cables and motor cables. Let me put that one in place. I put them here on the underneath side of this plateau that we created, just because there's some space there. Let's put this on the track, see what happens. So here we are on the track. I just got this guy from the programming track just over there, and we're going to start it up together on the track right here. And the fact that you're seeing this video already tells you that it's going to work. Otherwise, I would have cut this out. So let's go. Let's turn on up the RPM. And there you hear the starting sequence. Turn the light on. There we go, dim it a bit. And let's see which way is forward. That way is reverse. And there we're going. It all seems to be working just fine. So that's great. So what I'm going to do now is just super glue some of the final wires, just to make sure they stay in place and they'll get caught up in the mechanism. And yeah, close the shell, and that's it. And then we're going to go on to why I'm basically changing all my decoders when I have the opportunity to Soundtraxx and to move away from ESU. And that's for two reasons. First reason is actually that I have quite a few problems with the ESU decoders. I bought this new Bowser and it has the ESU in it. It's just acting super funny. And this unit had an ESU in it and it got burned. I had another Bowser that had an ESU in it, and that didn't do everything that I wanted it to do. And that isn't, I think, due to my programming skills. I do know how to program it. I mean, the thing is, all decoders are good, but all the bad experiences I've had always with the same brand decoders. So I'm not saying that brand is bad, anything like that, but it's just I don't have a good experience with it. And I do have a good experience with Soundtraxx. And the second item is that the ESU decoders are just, they're too good for me. They're too complex. They're too complicated. They can do too many features. The manual is also too thick. Everything I need can be done with the Soundtraxx decoder, and it's all very easy to do that. The manual is very straightforward, and you can easily find the features and change the CVs that you want. And with ESU, it also can do everything that I need, but it can also do so much more that I'm not going to use. I'm not going to reprogram the sounds or change sounds or anything like that, or upload different load curves, or I don't know what. I see people do this on the internet, and that's great that they have their passion for that and they can get enjoyment out of that. But I don't, and it's just too complex for me. To be honest, it's not fun, and the hobby is about enjoyment. So there it is. That's my small mini rant, and that's why I'm sticking to Soundtraxx. And when I get the opportunity, like now, I take all the ESUs out. So I'm just going to leave it right here. Thank you guys all for watching. Bye bye.